Hey everyone, it's that time again. The time when we start thinking about New Year's resolutions.
The time for fresh starts.
Yeah, exactly.
Setting those big goals for ourselves.
Exactly. And today we're going to dive deep into a resource that can really help us navigate that whole resolution thing.
Oh, I love this resource.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's NPR's Life Kit, 50 Ways to Change Your Life.
It's like a treasure trove of expert advice, right?
Yeah.
All packaged into these nice bite-sized episodes.
No, right?
So convenient, easy to listen to.
It's great, and the variety is what's so amazing. Like, there's literally something for everyone,
Yeah,
no matter what kind of change you're looking to make.
exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is to kind of showcase that variety, give you a taste of what's out there, and then we're going to zero in on a few resolutions that really caught our eye.
The ones that we thought were especially intriguing
Yeah,
for
exactly.
our listeners who, love to learn and explore new things.
Always up for a challenge.
Exactly.
Now, I got to say, when I first saw this list of 50 resolutions, I was a little, I don't know, overwhelmed.
Oh, I get that.
50's a lot of options.
It is.
Like, where to even begin?
Right, but there's actually a really good reason why they offer so many options, and it has to do with the psychology of goal pursuit.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You see, one of the key takeaways from this life kit is that focusing on one thing at a time is actually crucial for success.
So you're saying it's better to pick one resolution and really commit to it rather than trying to do everything at once.
Exactly, and there's this great quote from psychologist Elliot Berkman. He says, "Scattering your energy across too many things dilutes your efforts."
Makes sense. So less is more.
Absolutely.
Quality over quantity
I love that.
when it comes to resolutions.
Okay, so before we dive into the specifics, let's take a quick whirlwind tour of the different resolution categories, just to give our listeners a sense of the scope.
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
All right, so we've got career, fitness, getting organized.
Ooh, getting organized. That's always a good one.
Right. Then we have health, hobbies, home, mental health,
Okay, a lot of good stuff in there.
family, finances, relationships.
See, it's like a resolution buffet.
It really
There's
is.
something for everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's get to the good stuff, the resolutions that really stood out to us.
The ones that sparked our curiosity.
All right, this first one, I gotta say, kind of blew my mind. Try to live to 100.
I know, right?
I mean, who wouldn't want to add a few extra decades to their life?
Right. It's ambitious, but it's also fascinating to think about, like, what does it actually take to live that long?
Yeah, spill the secrets.
Well, the Life Kit episode on this topic is super interesting, and they actually dive deep into the science of longevity.
Okay, so what's the verdict? Is it all about genetics, or can we actually influence how long we live?
Well, they say that while genetics do play a role, our lifestyle choices have a much bigger impact than we might think.
Oh, that's actually encouraging.
Right. It means we have more control than we realize.
Yeah, give me some examples. Like, what kind of lifestyle choices are we talking about?
Well, one of the most surprising factors they highlighted was the importance of having a sense of purpose.
Oh, interesting.
People who have a strong reason to get up in the morning.
Like a reason for being.
Yeah, a feeling that their life has meaning.
Okay.
They tend to live longer.
So it's not just good for the soul, it's good for the body, too.
Exactly, mind-body connection.
I love that.
Okay, now, ready for a resolution that completely flips the script.
Oh, yeah, bring it on.
It's embrace my perfectionism,
Oh, that's interesting.
right? Most resolutions are about battling our flaws,
Yeah.
trying to fix things we don't like about ourselves.
Yeah, we're always trying to improve, get better, overcome our weaknesses.
But this one says, hey, maybe perfectionism isn't always a bad thing.
Okay, so how does Life Kit spin that? I'm curious.
They actually argue that perfectionism can be a strength when it's channeled effectively.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to eradicate it, they encourage us to reframe it as a drive for excellence.
So turning that negative into a positive,
Exactly.
that's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
Right. But it makes sense when you think about it.
So how do they suggest we actually do that? Like, how do we embrace our perfectionism in a healthy way?
Well, what the key strategies they highlight is learning to focus that perfectionistic energy on achievable goals.
So it's not about lowering our standards, but about setting realistic expectations.
Yeah, and breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay, so it's about celebrating progress along the way, rather than getting bogged down by the pursuit of this unattainable ideal.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
I like that.
Okay, now for our final intriguing resolution. And this one is something I think everyone can relate to, regardless of their relationship status.
All right, lay it on me.
It's create a relationship contract.
Ooh, that sounds a little intense.
I know, right? But before you dismiss it, hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's not about creating a legally binding document. It's more about creating a framework for open and honest communication.
Oh, so it's about setting clear expectations from the start.
Exactly.
I can see how that would be beneficial, like to avoid those misunderstandings that can pop up down the road.
Right. And it's not just for romantic relationships.
Oh, really?
It can be for any close relationship.
So family, friends, coworkers.
Exactly. Anyone you want to have a stronger, healthier bond with.
Okay, so what kind of things would go into this relationship contract?
Well, Life Kit recommends including clauses that address specific needs and expectations.
Give me an example.
Okay, so you might have a clause that says something like, we will communicate our needs directly rather than expecting the other person to guess.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. Because let's be honest, mind reading is not a relationship superpower.
Definitely not.
So being upfront about what we need and expect can save a lot of heartache down the line.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got three pretty intriguing resolutions on the table here. Living to 100, embracing our perfectionism, and creating a relationship contract.
All very different, but all with the potential to really transform our lives.
They are, and I'm curious, out of these three, is there one that particularly resonates with you?
That's a tough one. They're all so compelling in their own way, but I think I'm drawn to the idea of embracing perfectionism.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I could really benefit from, learning to harness that energy in a more positive way.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful concept.
What about you? Which one speaks to your goals for the coming year?
You know, I'm kind of intrigued by that whole living to 100 thing.
Yeah,
I mean, who wouldn't want to live a longer, healthier life?
true. It's definitely a goal worth striving for.
And I like the idea that it's not just about genetics, that our lifestyle choices actually matter.
Absolutely. It's empowering to know that we have some control over our own longevity.
It is.
Now, I know we've only scratched the surface here,
Yeah, 50 resolutions. We've only talked about 3.
but I think this gives our listeners a good starting point
It does.
and hopefully sparks some ideas for their own New Year's resolutions.
It's all about finding what resonates with you
Exactly.
and what feels most relevant to where you're at in your life right now.
Absolutely. It's a journey, you know?
It is. It's a journey. And speaking of journeys, we've talked about picking a resolution, but how do we actually make those changes stick?
That's the real challenge, right?
Yeah, it is. It's easy to get all fired up in January, set those big goals, but then life happens and those resolutions kind of fade into the background.
It's so true. And that's where I think this Life Kit really shines.
Oh, how so?
They don't just inspire you to set goals, they actually give you these practical strategies to help you follow through.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me the cheat sheet. What are some of the key takeaways?
Well, one thing they emphasize across the board is the power of habit formation.
Habit formation. Okay.
Lasting change, they say, doesn't come from just willpower alone.
You're telling me.
It's about integrating those new behaviors into your routine, making them automatic.
So you're saying willpower is not enough?
It's definitely not reliable, especially when you're stressed or tired.
Oh, tell me about it.
So instead of relying on willpower, Life Kit suggests we focus on creating cues and rewards.
Cues and rewards. Okay, I like where this is going.
Give you an example. Let's say your resolution is to exercise more. Okay? Maybe you put your workout clothes right by your bed so you see them first thing in the morning.
A visual cue.
Exactly. That's your cue. Then after your workout, you treat yourself to a smoothie.
The reward.
Exactly.
I like it's like setting yourself up for success.
Mm,
You know, associating that new behavior with something positive.
exactly.
What other strategies do they suggest?
Another big one is starting small.
Okay, baby steps.
It's so tempting to try and overhaul everything at once.
Oh, yeah. New year, newbie.
Right. But that can be so overwhelming, and it often leads to burnout.
I've been there.
So instead, they advocate for setting realistic goals,
Okay.
gradually building momentum.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. One step at a time.
I can get behind that. Any other golden nuggets of wisdom?
Yes, one that really resonated with me was the importance of self-compassion.
Oh, self-compassion. That's a good one.
Why emphasize that setbacks are inevitable, it's going to happen, and that's okay.
It's part of the process.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect. It's about learning from those slip-ups and getting back on track.
So ditching that all or nothing mentality.
Exactly.
Because that can be so discouraging, you know. You mess up once and you feel like you failed the whole resolution.
Then you just give up.
Exactly. But Life Kit's encouraging us to reframe those so-called failures as opportunities.
Opportunities for learning and growth.
It's a much more sustainable approach, wouldn't you say?
I think so. It's about embracing that messy process change rather than striving for some unrealistic ideal.
I like that. Embracing the mess.
Now, remember those 3 intriguing resolutions we talked about earlier?
I do, yeah. Living to 100. Embracing perfectionism and creating a relationship contract.
I'm curious to explore some practical steps listeners could take if they choose one of those.
Yeah, let's get specific, starting with try to live to 100. What are some concrete actions folks can take to boost their chances of hitting that century mark?
Well, the Life Kit episode on longevity goes beyond just diet and exercise.
Okay, there's more to it than that.
They really emphasize the power of social connections.
Social connections, okay.
People who have strong social networks and feel a sense of belonging, they tend to live longer, healthier lives.
So it's not just about what you eat and how much you move, but also about who you surround yourself with.
Exactly, and how connected you feel to your community.
That's really interesting. Any specific suggestions for how to cultivate those connections?
They even suggest things like joining clubs or volunteering.
Get out there, meet new people,
Find your people.
find your tribe. Yeah, I like that.
Now, shifting gears to embrace my perfectionism, how can we turn that drive for excellence into a positive force?
Yeah, what did Life Kit recommend for that one?
Okay, this is interesting. They suggested creating a done list
A done list.
alongside your usual to-do list.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So the idea is you celebrate your accomplishments no matter how small.
Oh, I like that.
It's acknowledging that good enough is often good enough.
It's a way of giving yourself credit.
Yes, shifting the focus from what you haven't done yet to what you have achieved,
Simple but powerful.
right?
Okay. And lastly, let's talk about that relationship contract. This one seems like it could have a huge impact, but it also might feel a little awkward to bring up. Any tips for approaching that conversation?
Yeah, they emphasize that it's not about creating a rigid set of rules.
Okay, so it's not a legal document.
It's about fostering that open communication, mutual understanding.
So how do you suggest folks initiate that conversation without it feeling like a business negotiation?
They recommend framing it as a way to strengthen the relationship,
Okay.
not to point fingers or
It's
anything.
not about blame.
Right. So you could start by saying something like, I really value our relationship and I want to make sure we're both on the same page about what we need and expect from each other.
That's a good way to set the tone.
Right. Approaching it with vulnerability.
And a genuine desire to connect.
Exactly. And they also stress the importance of active listening.
Of course, it's a two-way street.
It's not just about stating your own needs, but truly hearing the other person's perspective.
Creating that space for dialogue.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground here, habit formation, self-compassion, but there's one element we haven't explicitly touched on:
Oh, and what's that?
motivation. How do we stay fired up about our chosen resolution, especially when those challenges pop up?
Because they will pop up.
They will. It's inevitable.
That's where the power of purpose comes in.
Purpose. Tell me more.
They say that connecting your resolution to a deeper meaning or value, that can be a powerful source of motivation.
It's about the why behind the what.
Exactly. It's asking yourself, why is this resolution important to me? How will achieving it contribute to my overall well-being?
So it's not just about the outcome. It's about aligning it with something that truly matters.
Exactly.
It's like finding your inner compass.
Yeah, that will guide you even when you're feeling lost or discouraged.
I love that, your inner compass.
That inner compass will help you stay on track.
And speaking of staying on track, it's important to remember that this whole process of change,
It's a personal thing.
Yes,
It's your journey.
we can offer guidance like we're doing with these Life Kit insights, but ultimately, you're the one in the driver's seat.
You choose the destination.
You choose the route.
And there's no one right way to do it.
Exactly. What works for me might not work for you.
And that's okay.
Embrace those detours, the unexpected turns.
That's where the real magic happens.
That's where the growth is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we wrap up this resolution deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to kind of ponder.
A little food for thought.
Yeah, we've talked about NPR's 50 ways to change your life.
Right.
But what if
What if...
the perfect resolution for you isn't even on that list?
I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because these resolutions, they're really just starting points.
They're jumping off points.
They're meant to get your wheels turning.
Spark some ideas.
Exactly.
So don't feel limited by those 50 options.
What if your resolution is something totally unique to you?
Something that really reflects your values.
Your aspirations.
Maybe it's learning to play an instrument, or finally writing that novel you've always dreamed of.
Or even just carving out more time for self-care.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
And here's the thing. even if your resolution is something completely outside that box.
The principles we've discussed, they still apply.
Those life kit strategies.
Habit formation, breaking down big goals, connecting to a purpose, it's all adaptable.
You can tailor it to your own journey.
Exactly.
So as we head into this new year, armed with inspiration and a whole toolbox of strategies, remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's about progress.
It's about embracing the journey, the stumbles, the growth.
It's about becoming the best version of you.
Beautifully said. And, even those small steps, taken consistently, can lead to big transformations over time.
So go out there, make this year your most meaningful yet.
Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire us with your journey.
We'd love to hear about it.
All right, that's it for our New Year's resolution deep dive.
Happy resolving, everyone.
We'll see you next time.